Choose one, Chairman Kang. The court will never approve all three. Kang Tae-jun stood in the middle of the children's home with one hand inside the pocket of his black overcoat. Men had begged beneath that same stare. Politicians had changed their votes because of it. Entire businesses had disappeared after disappointing him. But the 3 7-year-old children sitting beneath the staircase did not appear frightened. They were black triplets, 2 girls and 1 boy, sitting shoulder to shoulder as if the narrow space had been built especially for them. Amara sat on the left, her small face serious and protective. Kofi was in the middle, silently watching every doorway. Nia, the youngest by 11 minutes, sat on his right. A faded red ribbon connected their wrists. Director Han lowered her voice. Your application was for 1 child, Chairman Kang. The Emergency Placement Committee might approve the boy, but not his sisters. 3 children are too much for a first-time parent. Tae-jun looked at Kofi. The boy immediately moved closer to his sisters. If I choose him, Tae-jun asked, what happens to the girls? Amara leaves for Busan tomorrow morning. Nia will be transferred to a temporary home in Daejeon. And Kofi? He remains here until another family applies. The smallest girl tightened her fingers around the ribbon. Tae-jun noticed. What is that for? Nia looked up at him. It belonged to our mother. Her voice was quiet, but it did not tremble. We tie it around our wrists whenever people come to choose. Why? So they'll have to cut something that belonged to Mama before they separate us. For several seconds, Tae-jun said nothing. Then he turned to Director Han. Change the application. Chairman Kang. I am not choosing one. Behind him, his attorney slowly removed his glasses. Director Han stared at Tae-jun as though she had misunderstood. You cannot simply walk in here and take 3 children. Then tell me what I have to do. The investigation could take months. Your home, finances, and personal history will be examined. Every allegation ever made against you will become relevant. Tae-jun's expression did not change. Tell the committee to examine everything. And if they reject you? He looked back at the children. Then they can put 4 names on the rejection letter. Director Han frowned. 4. Theirs, and mine. 25 years later, the names Amara Kang, Kofi Kang, and Nia Kang would shine from every billboard in Seoul. But on that cold November morning, nobody believed the feared Korean Mafia boss could keep them safe for 25 days. Let alone 25 years. Before we go back to where it all began, subscribe and stay with this story if you believe no child should have to lose a brother or sister just to find a home. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. 3 days earlier, Kang Tae-jun had no intention of becoming anyone's father. He was 39 years old, unmarried, and the undisputed head of the Kang organization. Publicly, he was chairman of one of South Korea's largest shipping companies. Privately, his name opened doors that had no handles. That evening, he sat at the head of a long black table while 12 senior members of the Kang family waited for him to speak. Madam Kang, his 68-year-old mother, occupied the seat to his right. You will be 40 next month, she said. You have no wife, no child, and no recognized successor. I am aware of my age. This is not about your age. It is about the family name. A folder was placed before him. Inside were photographs of boys from private children's homes supported by the Kang Foundation. Healthy boys. Intelligent boys. Korean boys with no known relatives who might challenge a future inheritance. You want me to select a child like I'm choosing a new car. I want you to secure the family's future. Tae-jun closed the folder. I don't know how to be a father. Madam Kang's face remained cold. You do not need to be his father. Give him your name, educate him, and prepare him to inherit. The staff can handle everything else. Tae-jun looked at the empty chair across from him. For one brief moment, he saw a different child sitting there. A frightened Korean boy with wet hair and a torn blue sweater. Jun Seo, his younger brother. Tae-jun had been 9 when the police raided one of his father's warehouses. Their father dragged both boys through a back exit, but Junseo fell and injured his ankle. He cried for Tae-jun to wait. Their father did not. "A Kang never turns back," he had said. Tae-jun obeyed. Junseo was taken into state care that night. By the time Tae-jun was old enough to search for him, his brother had already died. For 30 years, Tae-jun had told himself he was only a child. For 30 years, he had still heard Junseo calling his name. Tae-jun reopened the folder. "When is the visit?" Madam Kang smiled. "Friday." That was how Kang Tae-jun arrived at Heedham Children's Home 3 days later, accompanied by his attorney and 2 silent bodyguards. Director Han had prepared one child for him to meet, a polite 9-year-old boy with excellent grades and no behavioral reports. But Tae-jun never reached the meeting room. Halfway down the corridor, he heard a girl humming beneath the staircase. He stopped. 3 children sat in the shadows. Their clothes were clean but faded. Their small suitcases were already packed beside them. Amara saw him first. She stopped humming and placed one arm in front of Nia. Kofi counted the men behind Tae-jun before turning his attention towards the nearest exit. "Why are their suitcases packed?" Tae-jun asked. Director Han hesitated. "They are being transferred tomorrow." "Together?" "No." That single word changed the atmosphere. Their mother, Abina Cole, had been a Nigerian-American language teacher living in Seoul. Their father died before the triplets were born. 2 years earlier, Abina was killed in an apartment gas explosion. No relatives could be located. 4 families had shown interest since then. One wanted Amara because she was the most confident. Another wanted Kofi because they wanted a son. A third chose Nia because she was the youngest. The triplets rejected every offer that required separation. The 4th family agreed to take all 3 but returned them after 11 days, claiming the children were secretive, difficult, and too attached to one another. "They sleep in the same bed," Director Han explained. "They hide food for each other. If one is punished, the other 2 refuse to eat. We have tried explaining that separate placements could give them better opportunities." "Better for whom?" Tae-jun asked. Director Han had no answer. He approached the staircase alone and lowered himself onto the bottom step. Amara watched him carefully. "Are you here to choose one of us?" "Yes," Tae-jun answered. Her face hardened. "Then choose someone else." Director Han stepped forward. "Amara, that is not how we speak to visitors." Tae-jun lifted one hand, stopping her. "Why should I choose someone else?" "Because we come together." "What if no one can take all 3? Amara lifted her chin. "Then nobody takes any of us." Kofi finally spoke. "People always say they will let us visit. They don't mean it." "And how do you know that?" "Because adults make promises when they want children to stop asking questions." The answer struck deeper than the boy could have known. Nia studied Tae-jun's face. "Do you have children?" "No." "Do you like children?" Tae-jun considered lying. He was a man who lied without blinking, but something about the 3 children made dishonesty feel cowardly. "I don't know." "Then why are you here?" He looked at their connected wrists. "Because someone told me I needed an heir." "What is an heir?" Nia asked. "Someone who receives what a person leaves behind." Kofi's expression remained serious. "Is it money?" "Sometimes." Amara leaned forward. "We don't want your money." "I didn't offer it." "What are you offering?" For the first time in years, Kang Tae-jun did not have a prepared answer. He could order loyalty, purchase silence, punish betrayal, but he did not know how to ask 3 children to trust him. "I am offering to keep you together." Amara stared directly into his eyes. "For how long?" Tae-jun thought of Junseo lying on the wet ground. He remembered loosening his little brother's fingers from his sleeve because their father commanded him to run. He had spent 30 years wishing he had answered differently. This time, he did. "For as long as I am alive." Nia looked at Amara. Amara looked at Kofi. A silent conversation passed between them. Then Nia moved slightly, creating a small space beside her. It was not acceptance. Not yet. But it was the first space they had ever made for an adult. Tae-jun stood and faced Director Han. Prepare the application for all three. His attorney followed him into the corridor. Sir, your mother will never accept this. I did not ask my mother to adopt them. The board will investigate you. Your enemies will challenge the placement. The newspapers will tear apart your private life. Let them. And the organization. Tae-jun stopped walking. For years, men had called his refusal to love anyone strength. Now 3 children beneath a staircase had shown him what real strength looked like. They remained together when they had nothing, he said. If my organization cannot survive 3 children, it deserves to fall. At 11:47 that night, Tae-jun's attorney called. The Emergency Placement Committee had reviewed his name and unanimously rejected the application. Tae-jun stood alone in his dark study, holding the only photograph he still possessed of Junseo. What do you want me to do? His attorney asked. Tae-jun placed the photograph inside his coat. Wake the judge. Sir, it is almost midnight. Those children are being separated at 8 in the morning. He walked towards the door. For the first time in his life, Kang Tae-jun was going to war without a weapon. And he had only 8 hours to win. At 12:19 a.m., Kang Tae-jun walked into the private residence of Judge Lee Moon-sik. The judge was 72 years old, recently retired from the family court and wearing a blue house robe beneath his winter coat. He did not look pleased. You dragged me out of bed because you suddenly decided you wanted 3 children. I asked you here because those children will be separated in less than 8 hours. 6 people gathered inside Tae-jun's study. Judge Lee, Director Han, Tae-jun's attorney, a child welfare representative and 2 members of the Emergency Placement Committee. No bodyguards were permitted inside. The committee chairman opened a folder. Mr. Kang, you have no criminal convictions, but there are serious allegations concerning your businesses and associates. Allegations are not evidence. This is not one of your corporate negotiations. We are discussing 3 traumatized children. I know. Do you? The chairman leaned forward. You applied for 1A. Then, after speaking to these children for less than 20 minutes, you demanded all 3. That does not sound like fatherhood. It sounds like impulse. Tae-jun could have threatened him. 5 days earlier, he might have. Instead, he folded his hands on the table. When I was 9, my younger brother fell while our father was running from the police. My father made me leave him behind. The room became quiet. I never saw him alive again. Those 3 children are being asked to survive the same thing tomorrow morning. That does not qualify you to become their guardian. No, Tae-jun said. It qualifies me to understand what will happen if no one stops it. Director Han studied him differently after that. The child welfare representative asked the question that mattered most. Why should we believe those children will be safe with you? Tae-jun looked towards the photograph of Junseo on his desk. You should not believe me because of my money. You should not believe me because people are afraid of my name. He turned back to her. Believe me because I know exactly what it costs a child when an adult decides staying together is inconvenient. Judge Lee remained silent for nearly a minute. At 3:42 a.m., he signed a 14-day emergency guardianship order. It was not an adoption. Tae-jun would undergo home inspections, psychological evaluation, and parenting assessment. His employees would receive background checks. Armed guards would be forbidden from the children's residential wing. One failure could end the placement. Judge Lee handed him the order. You have been given 14 days, Chairman Kang. Tae-jun accepted it. No, they have. At 7:53 that morning, 2 government vehicles arrived at Heedham Children's Home. Amara, Kofi, and Nia stood in the entrance hall with their suitcases. The faded red ribbon connected their wrists. Nia watched the first driver open his door. He didn't come, she whispered. Amara squeezed her hand. I told you adults say things when they want children to stop asking questions. At 7:58, a black car turned through the gate. Tae-jun stepped out before it stopped completely. He had changed out of his suit. He wore a dark sweater, plain trousers, and the exhaustion of a man who had not slept. Director Han met him at the entrance. You made it. I said I would. Nia looked at the paper in his hand. Did they say yes? For 14 days. What happens after 14 days? Kofi asked. I convinced them to say yes again. And if they don't? Tae-jun looked at all three children. Then they will have to explain it to the four of us. Amara noticed the number. 4. For the first time, Tae-jun had counted himself with them. The drive to the Kang estate lasted 43 minutes. The triplets sat together in the back seat. None of them touched the snacks prepared for them. Kofi counted every turn. Amara watched Tae-jun through the mirror. Nia stared at the high wall surrounding the estate when they arrived. Is this a house or a prison? Tae-jun glanced at the guards standing beside the gate. I have occasionally wondered the same thing. Nia almost smiled. Almost. Inside, 3 housekeepers waited in a perfectly straight line. A chef had prepared 12 different dishes. New clothes filled 3 wardrobes. And 3 separate bedrooms had been decorated for the children. Amara stepped into the first room and stopped. Where are the other beds? They have their own rooms, Tae-jun explained. We sleep together. These rooms are beside each other. That is not together. You will be less than 10 steps apart. Kofi looked down the hallway. 10 steps is how separation starts. Tae-jun did not understand why 3 children would reject rooms larger than their entire space at Hedom. But he remembered promising to keep them together. Where do you want the beds? Nia pointed towards the largest room. All in there. Tae-jun called the household manager. Move them. The woman blinked. Chairman, the furniture was specially installed. Then specially uninstall it. By lunchtime, 3 beds stood side by side. The triplets placed their suitcases beneath the middle one. They did not unpack. That afternoon, Madame Kang arrived. She entered the house without greeting the children and asked Tae-jun to speak privately. He refused. Whatever you intend to say about them, you can say in front of them. Madame Kang's eyes moved across their faces. These children are temporary guests. Nia reached for Amara's hand. Tae-jun noticed. They are under my guardianship. For 14 days. Do not confuse an impulsive act with a permanent decision. Her attention settled on Kofi. The boy may be suitable after proper evaluation. The girls can be placed somewhere comfortable. The room became so still that even the staff stopped breathing. Tae-jun walked to the front door and opened it. Madame Kang stayed at him. You are asking your mother to leave. I am asking you to return when you can count to 3. She left without another word. That night, the triplets ate almost nothing. At 2 a.m., Tae-jun found bread, fruit, and 2 boiled eggs missing from the kitchen. One housekeeper suggested locking the pantry. Instead, Tae-jun ordered a low shelf installed inside it. The next morning, he filled it himself. When Kofi discovered the food, Tae-jun spoke without looking at him. That shelf is yours. It will be refilled every day. You do not have to hide anything. Kofi's hand froze over an apple. What if we eat all of it? Then we buy more. What if we take it to our room? It is still yours. Kofi returned the bread he had hidden beneath his pillow. On the 4th day, Nia broke a porcelain vase worth more than some houses. The sound brought 3 members of staff running. Nia stood among the pieces, shaking. Amara and Kofi moved beside her immediately. I did it, Amara said. No, I did, Kofi interrupted. Nia began to cry. Tae-jun entered and looked at the broken vase. Then he looked at Nia. Are you hurt? She shook her head. Did the glass cut you? Another shake. Then step away from it. Nia stared at him. You're not sending me back. Was that vase one of your placement conditions? I don't know. It wasn't. The next day, Nia unpacked one shirt. It was the first item any of them removed from their suitcases. During the 2nd week, Tae-jun discovered that earning a child's trust was harder than commanding 100 men. Amara questioned every promise. Kofi memorized the guards' schedules and kept his shoes beside the bed in case they needed to run. Nia woke whenever rain struck the windows. Tae-jun began returning home before dinner. He attended parenting classes through a private video call and learned that children needed routines, reassurance, and choices. He was terrible at all three. The first time he attempted breakfast, he burned 6 pancakes and triggered the fire alarm. Nia stared at the black circles on her plate. Are these food? They were intended to be. She took one bite and immediately reached for water. Tae-jun frowned. You do not have to eat it. I know. Then why did you? Nia shrugged. You stayed to make it. That evening, rain covered Seoul. Shortly after midnight, thunder shook the windows. Tae-jun heard hurried footsteps outside his study. He found Nia standing in the corridor with the red ribbon wrapped around her hand. I can't sleep. He followed her to the children's room. Amara and Kofi were awake but pretending otherwise. Tae-jun sat in a chair beside the door. Go back to sleep. Are you staying? Nia asked. Until the storm ends. The storm continued for 3 hours. At some point, Tae-jun fell asleep in the chair. When morning came, Nia climbed out of bed and placed a blanket across him. She turned to her siblings and whispered the words so softly she believed he could not hear. Don't wake Appa. Amara's eyes widened. Nia froze, realizing what she had said. Tae-jun kept his eyes closed. He did not move. He did not smile. He understood that if he made the moment too large, the frightened little girl might take it back. So Kang Tae-jun, the man before whom an entire city lowered its voice, sat perfectly still beneath a child's blanket and pretended to sleep. 3 days later, an envelope arrived from Madame Kang. Inside was an invitation to the Kang family's annual succession ceremony. Only one of the triplets had been invited. Kofi Cole. Amara read the name twice. Why does she only want him? Tae-jun took the invitation from her. Because my family believes a son is more valuable than 2 daughters. Kofi immediately shook his head. I'm not going without them. I know. What will you tell your family? Tae-jun looked at the 3 children standing together. The faded ribbon was no longer tied around their wrists. It rested on the table between them. For the first time, they had slept without it. I'm going to teach them how to count. The Kang family succession ceremony had been held in the same hall for 92 years. Portraits of dead chairmen covered the walls. A long table divided those who inherited power from those who merely served it. Madame Kang sat at the head of that table. Beside Tae-jun's chair, she had prepared one smaller seat. Its brass nameplate read, Kofi Cole. There were no chairs for Amara or Nia. Park Dae-sung, Tae-jun's second-in-command, stood near the entrance. For 15 years, Dae-sung had enforced Tae-jun's orders and expected to inherit the organization if his chairman died without an heir. Then 3 children entered Tae-jun's home and changed everything. The doors opened at precisely 6 p.m. Tae-jun walked in with all 3 triplets. Amara wore a dark blue dress. Nia wore the same dress with a red ribbon tied around her waist. Kofi walked between them, holding both their hands. 2 attendants blocked the girls. Only the boy's name is on the guest list. Kofi immediately released his sisters and stepped backwards. Then take mine off. Tae-jun looked at the attendants. They moved aside. Madame Kang watched the 4 of them approach. I invited one child. I brought my family. You brought an orphan sibling group into a ceremony reserved for the Kang bloodline. Tae-jun pulled out 3 chairs. Madame Kang's voice sharpened. The girls will stand. Tae-jun did not argue. He simply removed his own chair from the table and placed it against the wall. Then he walked over to Amara and Nia. If they stand, I stand. Nobody spoke. Dae-sung lowered his eyes, but the muscles in his jaw tightened. Madame Kang gestured towards Kofi's nameplate. The organization is willing to recognize the boy as your successor. He will receive your surname, your position, and your inheritance. Kofi looked at Tae-jun. What do my sisters receive? Madame Kang answered without hesitation. Comfortable lives somewhere else. Nia reached for the faded ribbon around her waist. Amara stayed at the nameplate. It was happening again. A beautiful room. well-dressed adults. One child selected while the others were expected to disappear quietly. Tae-jun reached inside his coat. Several men tensed instinctively. But he did not remove a weapon. He placed 2 additional brass nameplates on the table. Amara Cole, Nia Cole. Then he moved Kofi's plate between them. 3 names. Side by side. A family that has room for only one of my children, Tae-jun said, has no room for me. Madam Kang rose. You would surrender generations of power for children you have known for 13 days. No. Tae-jun looked at the triplets. I would surrender it because after 13 days, they already understand loyalty better than everyone sitting at this table. He turned and walked towards the doors. Kofi followed first. Then Amara. Nia remained behind for 1 second and looked at Madam Kang. We taught him how to count. Then she ran after them. Outside the hall, Tae-jun expected the children to be frightened. Instead, Nia was smiling. You told her. I did. Amara remained serious. Will she try to send us away now? She will try. Can she? Tae-jun looked down at the girl who still questioned every promise. Not while I am alive. 6 months passed. The emergency guardianship became temporary custody. Temporary custody became a formal adoption hearing. Every part of Tae-jun's life was investigated. His employees were questioned. His accounts were examined. Social workers arrived without warning. Tae-jun attended 24 parenting sessions. He learned to knock before entering the children's room. He learned that Kofi needed to know the schedule a day in advance, that Amara hated being answered with "because I said so," and that Nia only slept peacefully if the hallway light remained on. He also learned to make pancakes without burning them. Mostly. On the morning of the final hearing, the triplets wore matching red bracelets made from their mother's ribbon. Judge Lee looked down from the bench. Amara, Kofi, and Nia, do you understand why you are here? Amara answered. Chairman Kang wants to adopt us. Tae-jun glanced at her. After 6 months, she still called him Chairman Kang whenever she was nervous. And do you want to be adopted? Judge Lee asked. The triplets looked at one another. Kofi spoke first. Can we keep Cole? It was your mother's name. You may keep it. And can we have his name too? Nia asked. If that is what you want. Amara turned towards Tae-jun. If we take your name, you cannot take hers away. Tae-jun's voice came out quieter than he intended. I would never ask you to. At 10:16 that morning, Amara Cole Kang, Kofi Cole Kang, and Nia Cole Kang became his children. When the judge asked Tae-jun to sign, his hand remained perfectly steady. It began shaking only after Nia wrapped both arms around him. Kofi joined next. Amara waited several seconds before stepping into the embrace. For the first time, the triplets held someone without needing their ribbon. Park Dae-sung watched the adoption from the back of the courtroom. He did not applaud. 3 weeks later, the triplets' school vehicle disappeared from its approved route. Tae-jun was in a shipping meeting when his phone rang. Chairman, the driver said breathlessly, we were forced off the road. Tae-jun stood. Where are the children? A different voice answered. Dae-sung. They are safe, for now. Tae-jun's office emptied within seconds. What do you want? The organization you abandoned. Dae-sung had spent 15 years believing that loyalty would earn him Tae-jun's chair. Instead, he had watched 3 children enter the family and move ahead of him. The council will meet tonight, Dae-sung continued. Sign control over to me, and the children come home. If you touch them, you will do what? Start a war while they are sitting beside me. A photograph arrived on Tae-jun's phone. Amara, Kofi, and Nia were seated inside an empty warehouse. Their wrists had been tied together with their mother's red ribbon. Below the picture were 4 words. Now choose which one. Tae-jun closed his eyes. 30 years earlier, his father had forced him to choose power over Junseo. Now another man believed he would make the same choice again. At 9 p.m., Tae-jun entered the warehouse alone. He carried no weapon. Dae-sung stood behind the children with 6 armed men. A transfer agreement waited on a metal table. Sign, Daesung ordered. Tae-jun picked up the pen. Amara shook her head. Don't give him anything. Daesung pulled her backwards. Tae-jun's eyes hardened, but his voice remained controlled. Release her. Sign first. Tae-jun signed every page. Daesung examined the signature and smiled. 20 years building an empire, and you traded it for 3 children nobody wanted. No, Tae-jun said. I traded it for time. Sirens surrounded the warehouse. Daesung's smile disappeared. Tae-jun had spent the previous 6 months preparing for this possibility. Every illegal account, hidden warehouse, and bribed official connected to the Kang organization had been documented. Before entering the building, he had delivered everything to the prosecution. Evidence against Daesung, evidence against the council, and evidence against himself. Officers entered from every direction. Tae-jun crossed the room and untied the children himself. The red ribbon had been cut in 2 places. Nia held the damaged ends and began crying. I can fix it, Tae-jun whispered. Kofi looked at the officers surrounding them. Are they taking us away? No. Are they taking you? Tae-jun could not lie. Yes. The children moved closer to him. For how long? Amara asked. I don't know. You promised to stay. I know. Her voice broke. Then stay. Tae-jun knelt before them. If I run from what I have done, someone like Daesung will always come through our door. I cannot ask you to live honestly while I hide behind fear. Nia gripped his coat. But you our Appa. That is why I have to go. Tae-jun's cooperation dismantled the organization and prevented a violent war. But the evidence also proved that he had financed illegal businesses before adopting the children. He pleaded guilty. The court sentenced him to 4 years. Before he was taken away, he gave each child a small box. Inside were the 3 brass nameplates from the succession ceremony. Amara, Kofi, Nia. Your names should never require my fear to be respected, he told them. One day, people will know them because of what you build, not because of what I destroyed. Amara held her nameplate against her chest. Who will take care of us? Director Han will live at the estate. My legal businesses have been placed in a trust for your education. And I will call every Sunday. Kofi's eyes filled with tears. You might stop calling. I won't. Adults make promises when they want children to stop asking questions. Tae-jun remembered Kofi saying those words beneath the staircase. He placed one hand on the boy's shoulder. Then keep asking me every Sunday. The prison doors closed behind Tae-jun on a Monday morning. The following Sunday, the telephone inside the Kang estate rang at exactly 7 p.m. Kofi reached it first. Hello. Tae-jun's voice came through the line. I told you I would call. Kofi looked at his sisters. Amara placed the 3 brass nameplates on the table. Nia carefully laid the repaired red ribbon beneath them. 3 names connected by one faded line. Appa, Kofi said. We have an idea. What kind of idea? The triplets looked down at their names. The kind that will take 25 years. Every Sunday at exactly 7 p.m., the telephone inside the Kang estate rang. Tae-jun never missed a call. Not when another prisoner broke his ribs during his first year. Not when the prison was placed under lockdown. Not even when he became ill and had to stand beside the infirmary telephone with a fever. The triplets always waited together. Amara told him what the social workers had done wrong that week. Kofi described small improvements he wanted to make to the estate. Nia told him everything. What she ate, which teacher annoyed her, and how many days remained until he came home. At the end of every call, Tae-jun asked the same question. Are there still 3 of you? And the triplets answered together. Always. During Tae-jun's 2nd year in prison, Amara discovered a newspaper article about 3 sisters who had been placed in different foster homes. She cut it out and placed it beneath her brass nameplate. By the 3rd year, Kofi had started drawing buildings. Every design contained bedrooms connected by one long hallway, a large kitchen, and a central room where nobody could feel alone. Nia kept a list of laws she intended to change when she was older. They never explained the complete idea to Tae-jun. They only reminded him that it would take 25 years. On the morning of his release, the triplets were 11 years old. Tae-jun expected his attorney to collect him. Instead, 3 children stood outside the prison gates wearing red bracelets. Nia ran first. Tae-jun dropped his small bag and caught her. Kofi wrapped his arms around them. Amara tried to remain composed for 5 seconds before joining. "Are there still 3 of you?" Tae-jun asked. Amara looked up at him. "No." His smile disappeared. She took his hand. "There are 4. Tae-jun returned to a different life. Most of his fortune had been seized. Several legitimate businesses had collapsed after his arrest. The Kang estate remained, but half the rooms were closed because he could no longer afford the staff. He sold his expensive cars and dismissed the remaining guards. For the first time, Tae-jun drove his children to school himself. He attended parent-teacher meetings where nobody bowed to him. He learned to braid Nia's hair badly enough that Amara always corrected it. He sat in the front row during Kofi's science presentations and remained awake through every debate Amara entered. Sometimes people recognized him. They whispered that he was a disgraced criminal pretending to be a father. The triplets heard everything. But Tae-jun never threatened anyone. He simply kept walking beside his children. When they turned 12, their school asked each student to draw a picture of home. Nia drew 4 people sitting beneath one large red ribbon. Kofi drew the first version of a building he called Together House. Amara wrote one sentence beneath both drawings. A real home should never require a child to leave someone they love outside. The idea continued growing with them. At 15, Nia organized a school fundraiser for siblings living in separate foster homes. At 16, Kofi won a national youth architecture competition with a residential design that allowed sibling groups to share private family spaces. At 17, Amara created an advertising campaign for their project. She gave it one simple name. 3. Amara understood how to make people pay attention. Kofi knew how to build places that made people feel safe. Nia understood how to change the laws surrounding those places. Separately, they were gifted. Together, they were nearly unstoppable. The triplets received scholarships to 3 different universities. For the first time in their lives, they chose to live apart. Tae-jun worried that they would refuse. Instead, Kofi smiled. Being separated is different when you know where home is. They called every Sunday at 7 p.m. Sometimes from 3 cities. Sometimes from 3 countries. Tae-jun always asked the same question. "Are there still 3 of you?" "Always." Amara studied international branding. Kofi became an architect. Nia studied child protection law. After graduation, all 3 returned to Seoul. But instead of moving home, they rented a small apartment together and began working behind a locked door. They refused Tae-jun's money. They would not show him their business plans. Their Sunday visits became shorter. Then they began missing dinners. Amara traveled constantly. Kofi spent nights at construction sites. Nia was always meeting lawyers and government officials. Tae-jun told himself they were adults. He had raised them to build lives that did not depend on him. But some Sunday evenings, he remained beside the telephone long after the call ended. He wondered whether giving children the freedom to leave meant accepting that they might never return. On the morning of the 25th anniversary of their adoption, Tae-jun woke alone. He was 64 years old. There was more gray than black in his hair, and an old prison injury made his right shoulder ache whenever it rained. None old of the triplets had called. At 9 a.m., he received one short message from Amara. "Wear the black suit. A car will arrive at 10. Trust us." The car drove him into Central Seoul. At precisely 10:30, every digital billboard along the street went black. Traffic slowed. People lifted their phones. Then the first billboard illuminated. A photograph of 7-year-old Amara appeared beneath the staircase at Heedham Children's Home. Beside it were the words, "Amara Kang." The second billboard displayed Kofi. Kofi Kang. The third displayed Nia. Nia Kang. Then their adult faces replaced the childhood photographs. The same 3 names appeared on another billboard. Then another. Then 20 more. Their names covered shopping centers, train stations, and skyscrapers throughout Seoul. Screens in Lagos, London, New York, and Atlanta carried the same message. He was told to choose one. He chose all 3. Tae-jun's car stopped outside Heedham Children's Home. The old building was wrapped in red fabric. Hundreds of people waited outside, journalists, government officials, foster families, and children holding hands with their brothers and sisters. Amara, Kofi, and Nia stood at the entrance. Tae-jun stepped out of the car. "You forgot to call," he said. Nia smiled through her tears. "We were slightly busy putting our names on every billboard in the city." Amara handed him one end of a long red ribbon. "Pull." The fabric fell. The old children's home had been transformed into a bright residential campus with connected family rooms, classrooms, gardens, and legal support offices. Across the entrance, large metal letters read, 3, Jun Seo House. Tae-jun stopped breathing. Beneath the name was a smaller inscription. "No child will be asked to choose which sibling deserves a home." Tae-jun touched his younger brother's name. "You remembered him." Kofi stood beside him. "You chose us because nobody went back for him." Nia took Tae-jun's hand. "So we brought him home too." Inside the building, the original faded ribbon rested inside a glass case. The 3 brass nameplates were mounted beneath it. Beside them were hundreds of other names, siblings already accepted into the 25 together houses opening across 5 countries. Amara handed Tae-jun a folder. 3 had grown into an international company connecting ethical brands, architecture, and child advocacy. Its profits would permanently finance homes designed to keep siblings together. Tae-jun looked through the plans. "You built all this without telling me." "You would have tried to help," Amara said. "I am your father. That is generally what fathers do. This was our time." They walked onto the rooftop, where the surrounding billboards still carried the triplets' names. Tae-jun looked from one screen to another. "Why your names?" Kofi answered first. "Our first files did not describe us as Amara, Kofi, and Nia. They called us Sibling A, Sibling B, and Sibling C." Nia continued. "People kept acting as though one name could be saved while the other 2 disappeared." Amara placed a hand on Tae-jun's shoulder. "You gave us your name when carrying ours cost you everything. We wanted the world to see that none of us disappeared." Tae-jun swallowed. "And where is my name?" Nia smiled. "It isn't missing, Appa." The 3 of them moved closer. "It is inside every one of ours." 5 years later, 3 operates 61 sibling homes around the world. Every building has 3 connected brass nameplates near its entrance. And every Sunday at exactly 7 p.m., Tae-jun has dinner with his children. He no longer asks if there are still 3 of them. He can see the answer sitting around his table. There are 4. This story was never truly about a mafia boss, an empire, or a city filled with billboards. Tae-jun did not become a father when he signed the adoption papers. He became a father when he moved 3 beds into 1 room. When he filled a pantry instead of punishing a frightened child for hiding food. When he sat through a thunderstorm, made terrible pancakes, and returned every Sunday call from prison. The triplets remembered all of it. Children may forget the expensive gifts an adult bought them, but they rarely forget who stayed, who apologized, and who refused to choose only the easiest parts of them. Tae-jun gave up an empire to keep 3 names together. 25 years later, those children made sure the world could see them. So, who refused to leave you behind when staying became difficult? Write their name in the comments and honor them today. Like this story if you believe love, not blood, is what creates a real family. Share it with someone who has always chosen you, and subscribe for more unforgettable Afro-Korean stories.